Welcome to Stories and Songs, a series of interviews with musicians from the world of jazz and improvisation. I'm Sophia Carbonara, and it's my great pleasure today to be talking to Ellen Kirkwood.
Hi, thanks for having me, Sophia.
Hi, Ellen. Thank you so much for joining us. My first question for you is what have been the pivotal events in your musical journey?
Yeah, so I had to think about this earlier, and there have been a few of them. So I'll just talk about them chronologically. Um, Back in 2003, when I was in year 12, I heard about the Young Women's Jazz Workshops, which had only recently been started by Sandy Evans, and decided that I wanted to get better at improvising. So joined them, and that was pretty life-changing because um, I had so much fun and I learnt so much. And at the end of it, Sandy Evans said to me, I really think you should audition for the jazz course at the con. And I was like, what, really? So that really was a good kick up the bum to sort of to have a go. And it was great that Sandy believed in me. So I did it, and I got into the jazz course at the con in Sydney. Um, another one, a bit after my course at the con had finished, I was asked to join Siren's big band, um, and that was really great. It sort of my community of musicians sort of exploded. It was a couple of years after I'd finished jazz at the con, and I was sort of wondering what to do, and things would my I guess things felt like they didn't have a lot of momentum at that time. But then when Sirens asked me to join them, it just led to me, and so that was when Sirens began as well in 2010. It led to me making lots and lots of new relationships with at that time it was just women in Sirens big band, and it also led to me. It was a platform that I could write lots of music for. It was really exciting to have a band that I could bring in my arrangements and compositions too, and they were always really happy to play them. So that helped me develop my composing as well. A couple of years later, I was nominated for the Jan Rutherford Memorial Award, and the process of that is, you get nominated, and then you do a project. You do a project proposal where you sort of say what you would do if you won the award, and yeah, fortunately, I won it, and it enabled me to record my first album, and it was a big project. I put the legend, the myth of Theseus and the Minotaur to music. So it was narrated plus music that kind of enhanced the story and had lots of room for improvisations, because I think that improvising is a great way for individual players to sort of add to the story and to illustrate what's going on in the story. So that was a really big boost to have to be able to record my first album because of that award. Another big thing, in 2016, I applied for a grant to get a mentorship with Barney McCall, who is someone that I really admired for his really unique, beautiful compositional voice and piano playing. And that led me to write a really big suite of music for Sirens Big Band, which also featured Sandy Evans, Andrea Keller, and Gian Slater. And I still think of that as my biggest achievement, writing that suite. It's called Apart, with the A in square brackets. Go check it out. Yeah, it was. I sort of surprised myself with that. I didn't really know that I was capable of writing such a big thing, and I'm still really proud of it. And the last thing, I guess it remains to be seen whether it will be pivotal, but it feels like it. I've recently started a PhD through the ANU, and I'm just looking forward to where it will take me. It's to do with I really love writing music about places in nature, and I'm kind of going further with that by seeing what happens when I go on a journey of learning what it means that the country that I live on and the places that I go are Aboriginal land, what that actually means to Aboriginal people, and what their connections are, and how that sort of influences the way that I relate to places in nature, and then in turn how it influences the music that I make when I make music that is inspired by places in nature.
That's really beautiful. It's really exciting. I'm excited to see your research. And it's,
Thank
I
you.
recently talked to Jennifer Allen. She also mentioned Sandy Evans as an important, a pivotal event in her musical journey. This is really beautiful connections there.
Yeah,
And
she's had such an impact on so many musicians I know in Sydney. She's just yeah, she's just such an amazing educator and person and musician, and yeah, I owe a lot to Sandy.
it's really beautiful. My second question for you: what obstacles have you had to overcome during your musical life, and how have you dealt with them?
So I found when I was at Sydney Con doing the jazz course, it's it's a pretty intense environment there, and I remember at the end of first year or the start of second year, sort of thinking to myself, oh, gee. I felt a lot of self-judgment, sort of going, oh, I don't really think I'm as good as everybody else. And I think that's a really common thing for lots of people to think. One of my teachers there, Warwick Alder, a really great trumpet player, his advice to me was to focus on my own journey, to look at, how far I'd come, what I'd learned. And that really, really helped. And, because everyone has different journeys, and at any given time, someone might be sort of doing amazing things and just be on a roll, and other people might be sort of like, stuck a little bit. But everything, things, there's ebb and flow, and there's also, everyone's unique and different. And so that really helped me to sort of think back on, like, how far I'd come. And then I was like, oh yeah, I'm doing all right. So I try and keep that in mind at times when I sort of feel like, why aren't things going better, or anything like that. Another obstacle, you know, when I was at the con, in my year of, I think, around 14 students, I was the only woman. In the whole course, there were only three of us: myself, Alex Silva, a trombonist in the year above, and also Liz Heron, a trumpet player in the year above me. And that was out of about 60 students at the jazz course. So I kind of I felt like a little bit of an outsider sometimes. And I guess, there's sort of this thing where I think, guys are sort of more likely to be mates together and form their own bands together. And I guess sometimes that kind of persisted as feeling like a bit of an outsider myself. Um, and, not feeling like I was getting booked for as many gigs or getting asked to do as many projects as my male peers were. But I think as a result, it's just made me more take the initiative myself as a musician many times. I have, gone ahead and gone, well, you know what, I'm just going to make my own thing happen. I'm going to write my own music. I'm going to pull together my own band. And I've just, kept doing that over and over again. And it's meant that I've, you know, gained a lot of new skills and forged relationships. And I think, just by keeping on going and just going like, well, it's better to do something than nothing. Don't wait around for things to come to you. Go and get them, go and create, go and get things together. We learn as we go. Every step that we take, we'll learn a little bit more. Maybe one thing won't be quite what we wanted it to be, but that's still a stepping stone.
I appreciate you sharing those moments over time. My third question for you: do you have a motto or personal philosophy that guides you, or what advice would you share with younger musicians?
Yeah, so while I was learning from Barney McCall, there were sort of some themes that kept coming up that I kind of distilled into like a little bit of a creative motto for myself. And there are three words there: beauty, meaning, and unpredictability. And they kind of overlap a fair bit, I think. So, I mean, beauty is kind of it's a pretty vague word, really. um, and it means different things to different people, and what I think is beautiful might not be what someone else does yet think is beautiful. But I think it's about humanity. It's about sort of feeling an emotional connection to the music, and it doesn't mean it has to be pretty all the time. Maybe it can be angry sometimes, but there's a certain beauty to that too. Meaning, yeah, I really try and write music that means something to me. Sometimes it has a story, sometimes it's about an experience. Sometimes I'm sort of trying to, get some sort of idea across, or sometimes it's very personal and it's kind of, it means a lot to me, but I don't necessarily need to talk about it in great detail to people. It's more about the emotion of the music. I think emotion is very important in music, and the unpredictability part. I guess I'm just a rebel. um, no, but seriously, I guess in my music, I guess I try and sort of steer away from cliches. I try to be original. I try to sort of surprise people, and I think the music that I like listening to has those qualities in it. Maybe I'll say that sentence. Doesn't matter. The music that I like has all those qualities in it, and yeah, the unpredictability part is really important. As a listener, it's really sort of, it's titillating to sort of go like, oh, didn't expect that. Wow, how did they think of that? I love music with adventure and imagination. I guess also other things that I sort of think about in making music, and also being part of the music community. I guess when I'm writing music, I try and it's kind of a spiritual process sometimes for me. It's quite intuitive a lot of the time. Sometimes I like sort of seeing if the music kind of lets itself work itself out. Like sometimes you can just hear where the music wants to go. The flow state is definitely a thing. I can't say that I always make it into the flow state, but when I do, it's quite magical, and I go, wow, where did that come from? Who even wrote that? Or who even played that? And the other thing is, as a musician, I'm not sort of seeking to be the best, whatever that even means. Like, it's all subjective. Who can say what the best is? I guess my goal is to just keep exploring and learning, and keep finding my own personal voice as a musician.
That's really beautiful how you talked about flow state, and it's really beautiful about saying who even played that, who even wrote that. Talking
It's
about what
true.
you wrote, that's true. Talking about what you wrote, my last question for you is to nominate a song or album of your own creation, and you already touched upon a part. Maybe you want to talk more about that work, or another work that we would love to listen to.
Well, yeah, look, it was kind of hard to choose between a part and my most recent album. But since I talked a little bit about a part, I'll talk about my most recent album, which is called Delve, and it's with my quartet Underwards. We only released it a couple of months ago. And yeah, so basically, this project is, yeah, a lot of the music, most of the music is about connecting to nature. It's about my experiences in nature, or places I've been, or, yeah, things that I've thought about. Yeah, I mean, look, I could go into a lot of detail because all of the pieces have sort of their own little story, and if people who come to my gigs hear me talk about them a little bit. But yeah, basically, I guess the overarching idea of the music that I write for Underwards and that features on this album, Delve, is about, I really think that in the society that we live in Australia, we are a Western culture that is, focused on capitalism, and our relationship with nature is unsustainable. And it's one of the things that's driving climate change, that we have this disconnect, and that's part of the reason why I'm really interested in learning about Indigenous connections to country. And so some of the pieces on Delve are actually come from a residency that I did, where I, out past the Blue Mountains in a town called Kandos, where I actually talked to a few Indigenous locals and learned a bit about the area. And certainly what I learnt inspired me to write music, and influenced the choices that I made in the music. So yeah, I guess that the overarching idea of Underwood's music is to try and show my connection to nature, show how I am feeling about nature, in the hopes that other people will maybe reflect on their experiences in nature, and reflect upon how important it is that that we connect and care for nature, because I think attitudes need to shift towards that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really looking forward to just looking into this and hearing this work.
Thank
Um,
you.
yeah, thank you so much for your time and your wisdom.
Thanks very much for having me.
Absolutely. Have a beautiful day.
You too.